of Management Studies IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course MMPC-012 titled Strategic Management for MBA Program. Presenting Block 4 titled Strategy Implementation and Control, Unit 12 Control.
Objectives. After studying this unit, you should be able to understand the strategic control process, understand importance of strategic control in evaluation, understand different methods used in control process, and understand the analysis and follow-up action for control. Introduction. With the completion of the strategy implementation, the organization looks forward to achieving the desired goals and objectives. It is necessary, however, to introduce the process of strategy evaluation and control in the early stages of implementation to see whether the strategy is successful or not, and to carry out mid-course corrections wherever necessary. There are several reasons why a strategy may not lead to desired results. The external environment may not actually follow a trend as was expected at the time of planning the strategy. The internal changes within the organization, such as the organizational systems consisting of structures, policies, and procedures, may not reflect harmony with the strategy. After a while, the top management of even middle-level managers may find it difficult to exercise a substantial degree of control over operating systems. The unexpected moves of the competitors might create major gaps in the strategy. Thus, the list of such factors will require a continuous evaluation and control of strategy. In this unit, we will describe the control process. Before we discuss the control process, it is very important to have an idea of functional strategies. Functional strategies. The strategies have to be ultimately translated into business operations. The operating decisions are taken by middle and junior level managers. Functional policies provide guidelines to operating managers so that A. The strategies are implemented, B. Decisions are made effectively, C. Similar situations are handled consistently, and D. Coordination across functional units takes place. Once the strategy of the organization is decided, modification in functional policies may become necessary to meet the demands of new business or new business philosophy, particularly if a major deviation in product or market scope is contemplated. This becomes all more necessary in the Indian context, where unrelated diversification is not uncommon and where large-scale sickness of business exists. Depending upon the changes in the present business and the method of its management, the magnitude of modifications may range from a few minor ones to total revamping of functional policies. For instance, an organization might plan an expansion in sales by introducing installment schemes. This may need some alteration in the financial policies. On the other hand, if an organization is growing only at a 5% rate, wants to be the leader in the industry, and has the ambition of appearing on world scene, major changes may be imperative not only in financial but also in technology, production, marketing, personnel, and R&D policies. The functional policies should be comprehensive. They should not leave so much choice to operating managers that they work suboptimally or at cross purposes. At the same time, the policies should be flexible enough to leave rooms to managers for responding quickly to situations and make exceptions for good reasons. The organization should have policies in every major aspect of business, at least in key functional areas. In the financial management area, the major policies relate to the rearrangement and deployment of funds. Major issues involved are the sources from where the funds will come from owners or by borrowing. How much of the borrowing will be short term and how much long term. In terms of usage of funds, the policy decisions would relate to whether and to what extent funds have to be deployed in long term, which is fixed, and short term, which is current assets. The long-term or capital investment decisions relate to buying or leasing the fixed assets. A retrenchment strategy or paucity of funds may compel the organization to lease rather than buy. In case of an organization where capital investment decisions are decentralized, a hurdle rate may be fixed so as to avoid investment in weaker projects by one division and non-investment by another decision. Apart from capital budgeting, another consideration in financial management which influences other functional areas is the cash flow. An organization may frame bonus and dividend policies based on availability of cash. In case an organization proposes expansion through internally generated funds, it may reduce bonus and dividend. This is particularly so when it has formulated ambitious growth policies which require huge cash. Similarly, if the organization has high-risk business, it should have a conservative debt or equity ratio to guard against falling in red due to heavy interest burden. The fund's position and optimization orientation of top management also determine the accounts receivable and payable policies. Financial policies may even determine the account keeping, example, LIFO or FIFO, as these affect the profitability, balance sheet, and hence cash flow through tax, dividend, bonus, etc. Functional policies in marketing area are required for marketing mix decisions, namely the 4 P's: product design, product distribution, pricing, and promotion of marketing. In terms of specifics, the product decisions relate to such issues as the variety of product or service, which is shape, size, models, etc., completeness of the line, quality requirements, introduction and withdrawal of products, nature of customers, etc. Specific policies are also necessary regarding distribution channels, that is, through retailers or direct selling. What will be the spread of distribution network? Whether new dealers will be established or old ones developed? What will be the terms of contract with dealers and the nature or extent of after-sales service wherever necessary? The promotion policies will relate to mode of promotion, coverage, and nature, which is corporate, product, or brand promotion. Very clear and specific policies are to be made about pricing, example, full cost or standard cost based pricing. Offensive versus defensive postures also influence pricing policies. The functions relating to production will need policies relating to quality assurance, machine utilization, location of facilities, balancing the line, scheduling of production, and materials management. The strategy for entering into export market will dictate a different policy regarding quality of products and maintenance. In case of common facilities, policies of prioritization will have to be made for scheduling production. Location of facilities may be determined by closeness to market or input supply points. Policies must be made to determine whether and how much to make or buy on the basis of cost differential, certainty regarding availability, criticality of the item, ability to follow up procurement, action of production, capacity utilization of the existing plant and facility, and alternative uses of expanded capacity if expansion becomes necessary. In case of bought out items, Policies regarding the number of suppliers and the criteria for selecting them are necessary. In the area of research and development, functional policies regarding nature of research are necessary. In case of expansion through new product development, heavy emphasis has to be laid on basic and applied research. On the other hand, for expansion in the same line, research emphasis has to be made on product or process improvement to cut cost and on added value. It may be noted that in case of basic research, the organization should be prepared to commit resources and wait for outcome for several years. It cannot have basic research unless it is prepared to commit resources on long-term basis. Lastly, functional policies will be necessary in the area of personnel management. What will be the compensation or incentive system to get the best out of the people and to make them fit for desired position in the organization? What compensation incentive system will be able to attract people of the desired type to join the organization so as to meet the task requirements demanded by the strategy? What policies will be necessary for grooming internal people for new positions? The problem becomes acute in the context of turnaround strategies. On the one hand, the most competent people leave and the organization finds it difficult to attract suitable replacements. On the other hand, it faces problems of surplus staff. Retrenchment policies, though painful, are quite necessary but difficult to develop. The functional policies have a lot of interlinks between themselves and therefore cannot be developed independent of each other. Attempts to do so, for whatever reason, may lead to chaos and serious mismatches, resulting in failure of the strategy. This is the reason control is important. Strategic control process. The evaluation of the strategy of an organization can be done qualitatively as well as quantitatively. The quantitative evaluation is based on data and is possible through post facto analysis to detect whether the content of strategy is working or has worked. However, qualitative evaluation can also be done by addressing the question, will it work? The qualitative evaluation can thus be done before activating plans of change. The qualitative evaluation and control of strategy is a real-time process. The performance of strategy is monitored and corrective actions are taken. The basic aim of any organization is to achieve its goals. But to achieve the goals, the organization faces lots of hurdles. To overcome these hurdles, it is necessary for any organization to have a sound strategic control process. The word meaning of control itself means to regulate or to check. This means that the top management needs to keep check on how well the strategy is being implemented to achieve the objectives of the organization. For example, if the business is not giving results as expected, it may be necessary to increase promotional efforts or revise the product policy. Or as a last resort, the organization may pull out of a particular business. The strategic control process is closely related to strategic planning process. The process consists of 3 phases, which are as follows: evaluation criteria, performance evaluation, and control methods. The first phase, that is, the evaluation criteria, consists of selecting the success factors, developing measures, and setting standards for the same, and collecting information about actual performance. Quantitative criteria for evaluation. This is important for measuring the organizational performance, whereby the actual results are compared with the expected results. Usually, the organizations use financial ratios as quantitative criteria for evaluating strategies. These are used due to the following reasons. First, to compare the performance of the organization over different time periods. Second, to compare the performance of the organization with its competitors in the industry. Third, to compare the organization's performance to industry averages. Some of the major financial ratios which can be used as criteria for evaluation of strategy are: first, return on investment; second, return on equity. Third, profit margin. Fourth, market share. Fifth, debt to equity. Sixth, earnings per share. Seventh, sales growth. Eighth, asset growth. These ratios are used by different organizations to measure the performance of the organization. Here, one thing is to be noted that the qualitative criteria are related more to the short-term objectives than the long-term ones. This is the reason why qualitative criteria are very important in evaluating strategies. Therefore, to evaluate strategies, certain qualitative questions should also be taken into consideration. These questions can be whether the strategy is internally consistent or not, whether it is appropriate considering the available resources or not, how is the organization balancing its investment between high risk and low risk prospects. This shows that answers to all these qualitative questions are important to evaluate and control the strategy. Operational controls. There are several types of operational controls such as financial controls, budgeting, management by objectives, and time controls. Now, let us discuss these in detail. Financial controls. There are many methods or techniques used in strategic control systems. Every organization has its own way of using a particular technique according to the requirement of the organization. Most of the methods related to the strategic management are regarding the financial control systems. One of the effective systems of financial control is universally accepted and is used by many organizations throughout the world. This system of financial control is known as DuPont's system of financial control. The other method which are used most frequently are budget, audits, time-related control techniques like PERT and CPM, management by objectives, MBO. We will discuss these methods in brief to develop an understanding of the strategic control process. The accounting ratios play an important role in the evaluation and control of financial strategy of the organization. The purpose of each accounting ratio is different. Budgets. Budgets are one of the most widely used control methods. Budget means a plan of income and expenditure. It usually deals with allocation of resources to different organizational units. Budget gives an idea about the future expenditures and income, and at this juncture, only the analysis of the performance of the organization is done and corrective action can be taken up for flaws, if any. Since budget is actually a forecast, its revision would be required from time to time depending upon the requirement of the organization. It is one of the key elements in implementing the strategy successfully. Budget can be classified on the basis of time, monetary unit, function, flexibility. Audits. This is another method of control. As per American Accounting Association AAA, auditing is defined as a systematic process of objectively obtaining and evaluating evidence regarding assertions about economic actions and events to ascertain the degree of correspondence between those assertions and established criteria and communicating the results to interested users. Bayar's 1987. Audit functions come under three basic groups. These are independent auditors, government auditors, internal auditors. Now let us study one by one each of them. Independent auditors. Independent auditors are professionals who provide their services to their organization. Government auditors precludes the agency who perform government audits for organizations. Internal auditors. Internal auditors are employees within the organization and perform their function from within. There is one more group known as management audit, which examines and evaluates the overall performance of all organization's management team. Audit teams assess the efficiency of various units in the organization and the control system of the organization. The information provided by them becomes crucial for the management. Nowadays, most of the organization go in for management audits. Time-related control methods. This include useful graphical and analytical methods, and these methods serve as a tool in the strategic control process. The most popular methods include critical path method, which is CPM, and program evaluation and review technique, which is PERT. These are graphical network depicting the different segments of work that must be completed within a given span of time to complete a project or task. These provide information for both project planning and control and are helpful for the management in allocating its limited resources. Management by objectives MBO. This is one of the methods which is used both in strategic planning and control. In this, the objectives are established for the organization as a whole, for functional areas, departments, and finally, individuals of the organization. It has 3 minimum requirements which are as follows. First, objectives for individuals. Second, individuals are evaluated and receive feedback on their performance. Third, individuals are evaluated and rewarded on the basis of their performance. This helps in keeping a check on working of employees in the organization and helps achieve the goals of the organization. Apart from these control methods, other methods like Management Information System MIS and Decision Support System DSS also can be included under the control methods. Performance standards. Having identified the measures relevant for assessing the success of the strategy, the next important issue is to set the standards against which actual performance which is to be measured. The standard of performance could be any of the following 3 types. A. Historical standards. In this type, comparison of present performance is made with the past performance. Though it is the simplest of all, this type does not take into account the changes in environmental conditions between the 2 periods. Moreover, the prior period performance itself may not have been acceptable. It could also be misleading in the formative years when the numerator, previous year's figures, is small. Industry standards. In this type of standard, the comparison of an organization's performance is made against similar other organizations in the industry. The difficulty here is that all the organizations may not be exactly the same for purpose of comparison. C. Present standards. The goal or targets are decided by the organization's management to be achieved in a particular period. Present standards convey the aspiration levels and take into account environmental conditions if properly derived. These are more realistic and also consider the organization's capacity to achieve them. These, however, require tremendous analysis. Absence of such analysis may lead to shocking results. However, for an organization developing a conscious strategy, present standards provide the best alternative. Analysis and follow-up action for control. Once the actual operations start, information about the actual performance has to be collected periodically and compared with the standards set. If the objectives or major components of strategy include such factors as market leadership, information about market share will also have to be collected. Information may also be collected regarding performance of the other key factors. If the performance on key success factors is unsatisfactory, the long-term success of the strategy may be endangered. This may be despite the current success, which may be due to favorable current environment. For example, boom in the industry, scarcity, etc. If the performance is unsatisfactory, two courses of action are possible. The responsibility center manager may be asked to improve performance, or if it is not possible, target or standards of performance may be revised. The evaluation and control reports may be of two types, namely the motivational and the economic reports. The motivational reports relate to the performance of the people in the responsibility centers. Economic reports are concerned with the economic performance of the responsibility centers. The basic difference in the two is that while the latter gives actual economic performance covering all factors, the former reports the performance of a responsibility center. For instance, while an economic report will include all cost, the motivational report will include only those items of cost over which it has control. For example, the division may not have any control over purchase price of materials, but it may have control over material consumption. Similarly, the responsibility center has control over market share, while it may not have control over industry volume. It is advisable to keep the two reports separate. For instance, if the economic performance is going down despite best efforts of the responsibility center, there may be a need to make a shift in the strategy. Similarly, strategic performance based on economic reports may be satisfactory, but still there may be need for modification of the strategy if the good performance is due to unexpected favorable developments. From the control point of view, the reports must be timely, otherwise corrective actions may not be possible. The frequency of reports is determined by the lead time required for corrective actions and is constrained by the lead time for processing the transactional data and its transmittal to retrieved data in the form of reports. If, on the other hand, the evaluations are made too early, knee-jerk reactions are likely, which may hurt the plan. A strategy needs not be changed or abandoned just because evaluation has revealed the causes of poor performance over a short period. It should be tested for a sufficiently long period of time because certain assumptions might have gone wrong and there was no contingency plan to take care of such situations. If even after reasonable periods of time, the performance is not coming up to expectations, it may be due to serious deficiencies in the business strategy. However, before changing the strategy, it would be advisable to check its implementation on the test of adequacy. And if corrected, the strategy may still be quite useful. However, there might have been serious errors in assessing the external and internal environments, even though the evaluation of implementation reveals no major mismatches. Problems of control systems. There are a large number of problems associated with control systems for strategy evaluation. An efficient system may collect a lot of irrelevant data, whereas a sophisticated system might ignore crucial information. Some of the typical problems encountered in designing and managing control systems are: there may not be a consensus on the criteria for measuring the effectiveness and efficiency of the strategy. The reporting data may be invalid. The performance norms may be based on outputs on which the relevant business may not have a control. Other performance standards may be set with inherent contradictions. For example, an increase in market share may be expected in conjunction with an absolute decrease in marketing expenditure. Employees may consider the system to be unfair and therefore may not accept it. Overemphasis on measuring short-term performance may make managers forget about the strategy, which inherently has long connotations. It is very difficult to set good, average, and poor levels of performance in situations where the outputs are not very tangible. Types of strategic controls. Strategic control is a term that describes the process by which organizations control the formation and implementation of the strategies. It is a highly specialized form of management control that distinguishes from the other form of control systems, especially operational controls. It deals with uncertainties at various points throughout the control process. There are four types of strategic controls which are described below. A. Premise control. Every strategy is founded on certain planning premises or assumptions. Premise control is intended to examine whether the premises on which a strategy is based are still valid in a systematic and continuous manner. If you learn that a critical premise is no longer valid, you may need to rethink your strategy. The earlier you identify and reject an incorrect premise, the better. This is due to the strategy's ability to be altered to match reality. B. Special alert control. A particular alert control is the rigorous and quick reconsideration of an organization's plan in response to an instant, unanticipated incident. An acquisition of your competition by an outsider is an example of such an occurrence. Such an occurrence will result in an urgent and thorough rethinking of the organization's strategy. Create crisis management teams to handle your organization's early response to unanticipated situations. C. Implementation control. Implementation of a strategy entails a sequence of processes, activities, investments, and acts that take place over time. As a manager, you will mobilize resources, complete special initiatives, and hire or reassign employees. Implementation control is a sort of strategic control that must be implemented as events develop. Strategic thrusts or projects and milestone reviews are the two forms of implementation controls. Strategic thrusts give information that may be used to assess if the overall strategy is progressing as expected. With milestone reviews, you may track the strategy's success at regular intervals or milestones. D. Strategic surveillance. Strategic surveillance is intended to monitor a wide variety of events both within and outside your organization that are likely to have an impact on the direction of your business's strategy. It is founded on the premise that by monitoring several information sources, you might find significant yet unexpected information. Trade periodicals, journals, trade conferences, talks, and observations are examples of such sources. Difference between operational and strategic control. We have seen how operational control and strategic control plays an important role in implementation of the strategy. To summarize, it can be said that operational control as well as strategic control go hand in hand. Summary. Now let us summarize this chapter. An effective system of evaluation and control is important for the success of corporate strategy. It is also necessary for taking decisions on whether strategy should be continued or modified. The success of a strategy should be considered both in terms of effectiveness and efficiency. While it is easy to measure efficiency, it is relatively more difficult to measure effectiveness. The problem in evaluation and control is that of developing appropriate measures. The key variables of the organization may guide the duration of measures for evaluation and control. Structure also plays an important role in evaluation and control of strategy. Defective structures may lead to inadequate evaluation and control. The economic performance of an organization must be distinguished from the performance of people of the unit from the viewpoint of follow-up actions. Factors which are not under the control of a responsibility center must be excluded from the reports in evaluating the performance of the responsibility center people. For evaluation of a strategy or concrete actions, all factors of cost and environment must be included. On the basis of evaluation, the corrective actions may be taken if the performance is not up to the planned levels. If it is found that the performance of the responsibility center is not improving, or is unlikely to improve, the targets may be revised. If there are successive failures, the strategy may have to be abandoned. Before abandoning the strategy, however, an examination should be made as to whether implementation has been adequate.
We were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program. Course code MMPC-012, titled Strategic Management. Course coordinator Professor Neeti Agrawal. Voiceover by Chitra Gaur. Edited by Ashok Sharma. Program assisted by Tarannum Jaha. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.